Hey everybody, welcome back to another brand new video. Today is the end of the year, and with this end of the year, I wanted to take my time and do something I should have done last year and the year before that, which is an end of the year collection update. A lot of you guys have been asking me for this, asking me if I'm actually going to do this video, and sure enough, I am going to be doing this video. But we'll see how it goes, because if I'm going to be real with you guys, I have not been collecting a whole lot this year. Money has gone and needed to go elsewhere, mainly with my personal life. On top of that, the economy is just really, really bad right now. Everything is becoming a lot more expensive, necessities and stuff. A lot of the knives you see me review are pass rounds now, which I'm very thankful for. I'm very, very glad that I get to be sent knives to test out for a few weeks. But still, it's not as fun as, you know, being able to own those knives and stuff like that. And there were a lot of knives this year that I really did like and want to own, but unfortunately that has to all kind of be subsided with the stuff that I'm dealing with. But anyways, I thought I'd bring you guys this collection update anyways, because while I haven't been collecting, I still have been flipping, and I need knives to do that. So let's go ahead and start off with what my collection is contained in, which right here is a Apache 3800 case. This is a pretty common cheap case that you can find at a Harbor Freight, maybe a Lowe's, a Home Depot. But considering that there's guns everywhere in America, it could be at your local Walmart. This was like $40-something when I bought this. It could be more due to inflation, but yeah, it's just a nice, cheap, high-quality case. I was actually surprised by the case's quality. This allowed me to up my organization for my collection and protect them from things like water damage, wear, rust, and, you know, just make my collection look pretty. After all, before that, I was using a cigar box and just kind of letting these $100 knives just slosh around in there. So yeah, a case is definitely better than that. Another thing I guess I'll talk about is the stickers on here. I love to put stickers on here. I didn't really want to do that when I got this case because I liked it in this black color, but considering that I tried to take the brand sticker off in the bottom, I just kind of gave up and put stickers all over the place. So if you see a brand on here that you like, just kind of, you know, appreciate that. There's a bunch of brands on here, from JK to Squid, all the way to just some clothing brands on here as well. Damn Right Knives too on the very top. BRS, Gyration, Knife Corp, KPL, Skunk Bear, Ciervo Blades. We even got Fellowship Blades on here, which is really cool. Zippy, if you couldn't see it, at this kind of like transparent sticker on here. And we got MC Chicken, and even Kuski and Spasm Fingers. Shout out to those guys. If your sticker made it onto my case, you guys are OGs. You are cool. You guys are a nice brand in my book. So anyways, yeah, let's, without further ado, just open this baby up and see what we got inside. And there we go. So that right there is the collection. We also have some stuff that is critical for maintenance, like oils and Loctite. I will talk about those first. Why not? So this right here, we're just going to call it the mystery oil. I don't really know for sure what this is. Besides that, I have a regular bottle of KPL. I also have some Loctite that has lasted me forever. I bought this, I think, in 2020. And it's been like a couple years since then, and just look at that. It is such a funny like little like bottle, and it has lasted me forever. I barely use Loctite on my knives. Sometimes when you just have a good bushing tune, the screws really just stay in there. So yeah, that's the benefit of learning how to tune your knives. Also, we have some really good lube right here coming up. Shout out to NRB with his thick lube right here. Some of the best lube that I've tried in a long time. So yeah, shout out to NRB. He makes some actually pretty good oil. This is some of the only oil that I actually use because it's some of the only oil out there that I think really does make a difference. Anyways, let's actually get into the knives because that's what you guys are here to see. So first up, we have the very first knife that I ever bought, and that is right here. This is a really, really cheap trainer that I bought at a flea market for I think $5. It has no washers. It is a clone on basically every part of the knife, and it doesn't really flip that great. It is very small too. In fact, it's probably one of the smaller knives that I own in total length. You probably can already tell how small it is based on the fact that it is literally not that much bigger than my hand. But yeah, it actually did me quite right. I learned a few of the basic tricks when I started with this knife, so I'm not going to harp on it too much. Mainly because I actually quickly got into another knife after it with this one right here. Shout out to my boy, you know who you are when you gave me this knife. The guy who gave me this knife actually like inspired me to start flipping. It's yet another one of those flea market trainers that you can find. It's all steel, it's super heavy, and it's got the tolerances of something you would not like to find on your car. Tang pins, the classic steel dragon design, and it's a comb. Like, how much more classic CCC can you get? I still appreciate it though, because believe it or not, I actually did a majority of my first few beginner tricks on that one. So again, it holds some sentimental value. Another thing that holds some sentimental value is this boy right here. It's a knife that you actually guys will know. It is a OG 2020. It doesn't even matter. It's a squiddy. Like, it's one of the first squiddies out there. I remember when the Squiddy G was still a thing. I think the Squiddy C was just being introduced around this time. But look at this. I use this baby. Look, no one ever talks about how yellow their Squiddy gets from use. And yes, it still has the same bite handle marker from when I started. I don't know. I haven't used this since my beginner days, because truly it is a beginner knife. The balance of this is weird. The plastic of it is loud, and I don't know. I just don't really use it as much as I did. Honestly, this was a good stepping stone for sure, but once you get into those advanced tricks, you kind of just want to drop this thing. But yeah, believe it or not, has held up quite a lot to beatings and, you know, just some wear and stuff like that. I do not use this knife whatsoever now. It doesn't come out of the case pretty much at all. So yeah, I've even tried to sell this thing a few times just because I probably don't use it. So yeah, that's the Squiddy for you guys. Another trainer that I want to talk about that's actually a bit better than the Squiddy is the Oni right here. This is from NDK Arts right here. Shout out to my guy. He is my sponsor on Instagram. And overall, a very, very nice new rendition of what the Squiddy is going for. A plastic kind of, you know, uniform shaped trainer that is really good for beginners. It also has a really nice pivot system in there. The washers are actually really, really smooth, and the balance is actually really, really nice. I've told you guys about this one before. If you haven't seen my video on this one, check it out. There'll be a little thing that pops up. But yeah, really, really nice, and it is a really nice color. This is like a transparent purple, and it's also, fun fact, bendable. Yes, it's bendable. Look at that. And it returns to shape and doesn't break at all. Super, super nice. The hotter it is, it's kind of cold out right now, so it's kind of harder to bend this, but the hotter it is, the easier it is to bend. You can actually do some kind of funny little tricks to this thing. Like, let's see if I can muscle this thing to make it a CSGO knife, which I've kind of done a few times with this knife, but right now it's kind of hard. Anyways, there you go. Little curve, little funny little knife. But there we go. Yeah, pretty nice. And it's kind of pinless because the pin notch is actually integrated into the blade right here, so it does keep it nice and open. But yeah, really, really, really cool knife. I love mine, and honestly, out of this collection, it's probably one of the most solid flippers out there. The balance is actually really good in this one. So yeah, shout out to NDK Arts. Superb job on this one. Can't wait to see what he's doing in the future. Anyways, another knife that is plastic that is also pinless is this one from your boy Skunk Bear. This is actually one of the very few first models of one of his knives. I forget what this one's called, so sorry about that, but it is actually a pinsless knife right here. The handles are staying open by the geometry of the handles and this little notch up here at the blade, kind of like a Zen pin notch, but the angle is just right enough to be able to stay open. This is made by plastic from a 3D printer, and the way the handles keep from slapping is kind of an O-ring right here on the blade. The only reason I didn't really like this as much as I wanted to is because of how cylindrical the handles are. To me, I really don't like cylindrical handles. They kind of need to be square sometimes. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. A good example is like some of the early Atropo stuff. That cylindrical handle stuff was great for fanning, and this knife is nice for fanning, but the problem is it's too spherical for pretty much any other trick. So that's why I really don't use this knife that often, but still shout out to him. Thank you for sending me that. I like to try it. Plus it's got a really cool bearing system inside of it, and it's really, really smooth for a 3D printed knife. Speaking of 3D printed knife, and speaking of smoothness, we have something that is 3D printed, but not very smooth. And that is actually something of my own design, which is this thing right here. This was an earlier project I had starting the end of the year last year, and I think a little bit of this year. But yeah, this was called the Xena, or the Zeno, I think. I've since stopped making these, mainly because I've just not had the time for it. Plus, there wasn't really a whole lot of interest. But this was originally going to be a pinsless design that was going to run on bushings and washers. But yeah, it flips okay. It is a bit brittle, but this is one of the only few assembled prototypes out there. I actually did sell like 1 or 2 of these to people. It's just a project that I had and something I probably won't revisit. But yeah, that's actually my personal design. So let's move on to something that I was gifted, but it goes back to one of the first few knives I just showed you guys, and that is this thing right here. I don't have a brand for this. It's just some kind of knockoff thing that I've actually done some modifying to. For one, I dehorned the crap out of this thing. I took the horns to this grinder because the horns were terrible on this one, so much to the point where I just didn't want to flip it at all. But now that the horns are gone, it actually is somewhat flippable. And I sanded down all of the paint that was on the fascia of the handles right here. But overall, yeah, it's just a random knife that I was gifted because people know that I like to flip, stuff like that. Speaking of gifts, we have 2 other ones to finish off this collection before we actually get into the main thing I've been using to flip. And that is this little thing right here. Yes, this is actually the size of the knife right here. I don't know what this thing is called. This thing does not have a name. If you look up small Balisong on Amazon, I'm sure this is probably going to come up somewhere. This did have a latch. I removed the latch, but one thing I'm also very proud of is I actually laser engraved this blade. You can see right here, there is a kind of like a pattern on this one, a kind of like a tiger stripe pattern along the blade. Same with the other side as well. That was all done by me, and I'm actually very proud of this because it was one of the first few times I used my laser engraver on metal. And it worked pretty well. It was a long process, but it worked very, very nicely. It doesn't flip that bad. Like, it doesn't flip that bad. It's actually kind of a nice little trinket. Plus, it actually is kind of sharp. I mean, it's a really, really small edge, but like, it's not that dull. So anyways, that's that one. I hope you guys enjoyed that one. The last gifted knife I actually was gifted this Christmas is this one right here. This actually is a Balisong karambit. It's very, very interesting. It's not good for being a Balisong, and it's all right for being a karambit. As you can just see, the way you open this is actually interesting. You open this by this massive button right here, and you can kind of see that when I pushed it, the handle is open. When I got this for the first time, it actually would spring open like that, but it's kind of broken in a little bit, and now it doesn't really do that. Yeah, but you can't really do that many tricks with this thing because of its shape, because it's a karambit, but you can do a basic open and stuff like that. There's been something I've been working on. I know for the last few years, a lot of you guys have known that I don't really collect other knives besides Balisongs. And while that is true, somehow just being a knife person and having people in my life that know that I like knives, I've just kind of idly collected a bunch of free knives. So this is a case full of them. And there is one Balisong in here, so I will be whipping it out to show you guys before the last one. So let's just open this thing up really quick. And I guess this will be kind of like an honorable mention. But for some reason this year, I've wanted to collect in kind of like an old school, like, you know, manila style folder of Balisong. And I don't know how this happened, but randomly during the summer, kind of around this time I was wanting this thing, my neighbor comes over and hands me 2 grocery bags full of knives, like pre-owned knives that he just collected over the years. And inside one of those bags was this. Look at this baby right here. Woo! Yes, this is such a cool knife. I really don't care what anyone says. It is probably super, super cheap, and there's definitely something out there that looks just like this for like 9 cents, but it is exactly what I was looking for. It has a brass latch, and the latch is actually on the safe side handle, which is why it's a manila style folder. The bite side, which is this handle, doesn't have a latch at all. It is so old school, and it actually flips surprisingly well. I did a little bit of modification to this. I kind of cleaned up the blade a little bit, polished it, which is why you probably can see all the fingerprints on it. But yeah, super interesting manila style folder. And again, it doesn't flip that bad for being a really, really old school flipper. I actually took this on vacation with me as kind of my flipper because I didn't want to lose my trainer that I have in there. And I love this thing. It is super, super cool. The only marking on this is Pakistan. Such a cool little find. I'm so glad my neighbor dropped this off. I literally feel like I manifested this knife, and I don't know what it is, but every single time I pick this up, it's just kind of a special event. So yeah, one of my babies that probably costs nothing. So yeah, that is that knife. I will put it back in the other case. If you guys do want to see me open this case up and show you the other knives that I do have, and there's more, then definitely put that down in the comments section for sure. So the last knife is something you guys are probably already familiar with because I've been showing you guys it on my Instagram story a lot. Every time you probably see me flipping on my story or in a post, it probably is this knife. That knife specifically is the Balisong marbles. I have been using this trainer for pretty much this entire year, and it has held up pretty darn well in certain areas. It's just an overall really decent trainer. It's made out of aluminum handles, 6061, and it has kind of a unique weight system with these marbles at the bottom. I just have one brass in it right now. I think I'm probably going to change this. But I also have to retune the bushings because recently the old bushings in it went out after I dropped it somehow. I dropped it out of my pocket from like 4 feet high, and I heard something skittering off on the concrete as I dropped this thing, so something came off of it. I don't know what. Since then, I've just been kind of beating this thing and using this thing. I haven't really been trying to tune it, mainly because it's already in a beater condition. Why do I really need to fix it? There is something else about this knife that I should show you. If you look very, very closely, you will see that the trainer blade is kind of poking out on one side, and I don't know how this happened. I guess from the amount of times I've dropped this, the blade kind of just gave out, and I didn't realize that up until I looked a little bit closer at this blade. And notice this. Yeah, that's the blade literally separating from itself. So I guess this is a weak spot for the trainer right here. You can literally see the crack. However, that's not really Balisong's fault, obviously. They probably can't, like, 100% predict the conditions of people beating these things. I mean, I will admit one time I literally like whipped this thing on the ground, and maybe that was the cause of that. So yeah, I don't know. A beater is a beater, and honestly, this is probably the only knife I've really been using for the last year. So yeah, that's my collection for 2023. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. So shout out to all the brands that were in this video. Shout out to all the people that helped me through this year, and shout out to everybody who has been sticking around for this channel. Thank you guys so much. Again, if you want to see the other knives in my collection and a haul of some sorts, then put that down in the comment section. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.